And gentlemen, we're going to call our council meeting for October the 23rd to order. I'll ask that you please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge. Our God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the services that we are able to provide to the people whom we serve. We know that our goal in life should be to leave this world better than we found it. And I think that our council works in that area every day. We ask you to continue to bless the city of North Charleston, bless the employees that serve our people, and bless our people that we serve. In thy name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I believe Mr. Adams up.
You know, sometimes memories come back that haunt you in life. And one of those memories is here now because we're fixing to honor a graduate of Stall High School. In 1964, when I was playing football for Chicora High School, we beat Stall High School in football. But a little town named Walterboro, where I went and played football up until the 8th grade, came to North Charleston, and in 1964 kicked a field goal to beat us. Nobody kicked field goals in 1964. And in the case at Stall High School today is the conference championship trophy that was supposed to be at Chicora. But in spite of all that, we are very proud of some of the folks that have graduated from Stall High School. Our lawyer, for instance, you know, not all of them can be successful. Tim Scott. But today, Ed's going to introduce to us a young man that I think has the ability to lead the College of Charleston where it needs to go in basketball. And more than that, his attitude of working with young men will be to lead them in the right way for the rest of their life, not just through their days of playing basketball. We're glad to have you with us. Ed, take over.
Mayor, let me thank you, City Council. It's a real honor to be able to have the opportunity to stand up here and do what I'm going to do tonight. And that's recognize a young man who grew up on Liberty Hill, come through our basketball program. I knew him as a player. He still calls me coach. Some time ago, we all know what happened at the college, and as they began to go on their search, I got a call one day. And it was Earl. And he says, Ed, I don't know what you can do, but if they do what they did, I'd really be interested. And I was taken by that, taken back a little bit, and I told Earl on the phone, as I used to tell him as a player, and most of the kids I had the privilege to work with, I'll do what I can, son. I hung the phone up and I felt hopeless. What is Ed Barfield going to do to try to help him get on at the college? And there wasn't a whole lot I had to do. You know, God does things in strange ways, and things happen sometime in strange ways. This young man is, I can't be any more prouder than anybody that's ever come through our program. I tell people all the time, and I tell our volunteer coaches, I'm not about building athletes here. I don't think that should be my priority, or our athletic director's priority is to build athletes. That'll come in time if that's so warranted to do. But our number one goal is to build good boys and girls, good young men and women. And that's what we did here. Don't get me wrong, he was a pretty good player. He was a good player. He was my point guard many, many years ago. But when they announced that day, I called him 7 days in a row and he didn't return my call. So I figured he had got where he wanted to get to, and he said, the heck with Ed Barfield, who is he? But I kept bugging him. And then I saw that 864, and it still has Clemson on the bottom of it. So you know what I did with that phone call? I just hit the end button. But I'm never as proud of one young man as I can ever be. He's deserving. He's going to do a great job because of who he is and, most important, where he came from. So Earl will never forget where he came from. And so many times with coaches, they forget that sometimes. But I am a Cougar fan. I called and told him when he finally called me back on the 8th day. I said, Coach, he said, what's up, Coach? What's up? I said, Coach, you don't know how proud I am of you today. Because that's what I try to do in the field that I work in, is build good people like this young man. I am a Cougar fan. If they play Francis, Marion, Brady, I'm not pulling for the Patriots. I'm going to pull for Earl Grant, and I just want to welcome him here and let him know that this city is behind you 100%. The first thing he talked about is, Ed, I want to be involved in your community. He said, I want to give back. He said, I want to work with those kids. And on the elevator, I said, Earl, I'd like to get some of our kids down to a game. He said, yeah, but I want to talk to them, Ed, before they come. You assemble them somewhere I can talk to them. Because he's going to be a difference maker in young kids' lives. Not just the collegiate athletes he recruits, but he's a difference maker. He's what I look for. And boy, I hope that we can continue the great relationship we had many, many years ago. But Earl, I'm proud of you, Bo. You mean a lot to me personally, and it's great that you come from a great city like North Charleston. So you want to come up and
sure.
Don't tell them about the way I used to coach you kids, man.
That's fine. I still call him Coach. I call him Coach Barney. I don't even call him Barfield. I call him Coach Barney. We called him Barney back in the day, and so.
It wasn't because I had one bullet.
And you know, it's such a humbling opportunity to be here. I don't take this responsibility lightly. I did grow up in Liberty Hill. I'm proud of that. I grew up in North Charleston, and it's a great place. You know, it dawned on me on Monday what really happened. I was here for 47 days just working, really just working. My family was in Clemson. They finally moved down here. We sold a house in Clemson on Thursday of last week. We moved in a house here on Saturday. And on Monday is when it really dawned on me when I was driving from West Ashley across the Ashley River Bridge connection to downtown. My wife's mom has been at the Cannon Street YMCA for 25 years. So I see Spring Street, and I see Cumming. I make a left on Cumming to take my sons to school. And I say, you know what? Wow. I just realized I'm dropping my two kids off at elementary school in Charleston, South Carolina. Because I've been gone for so long. I've been in Kansas, I've been in Clemson, I've been in Rock Hill. I've been all over the place. And so to be back is such a humbling experience for me. One of my mentors, when he called me and said congratulations, and I talked to him like on the 9th day, so I talked to you before him, okay? One of my mentors.
Okay,
I talked to him on the 9th day. The phone was ringing. So I talked to him after you, one of my mentors.
When Earl was 11, he was the same way. He could tell you just
So he called me and said, hey, man, I want to congratulate you. I'm so proud of you. I'm happy. And you know what I told him? God did it.
Amen.
And you know, what he told me is, he said, okay, I'm glad to hear you say that. But he said, you know what I want you to ask yourself, the question is, why did he do it? It ain't just for College of Charleston basketball. It's for the city of Charleston. It's for all these young kids, black, white, Puerto Rican, or Mexican, that are here, that want to try to do something in their life, and I can tell them, guess what? You can do it from here. You can do it in public schools, you can do it in private schools, but you can do it from here. So what I ask you guys is just to spread the word that we need support. This ain't my program. This is all the people who before me came through that program that put so much energy into it. This is for the people in Charleston. My being here is not for me to celebrate and be happy about my accolades. It's for me to do all I can to help this city be proud of that university and to help some of these young men go off and know that they can be successful in life. So I'm happy to be here. I'm humbled, and I'm just going to do all I can each and every day to fight for the city and to fight for the College of Charleston. So anything I can do, if you guys ever need me, I don't know if I can help you. Maybe you can help me. My email address is grante2@cofc.edu. So if you ever need me to come speak to a group, you need me to go to a school, a recreational center, whatever, I'm here for the city. And use me. I'm a willing vessel. use me as much as I can be used. And I know I'm only here for a season. That season might be 2 years, 10 years, 20, or 6. I don't know. But when I leave, I want to be remembered as somebody that made a difference. Not just for the College of Charleston, but the city as well. So thank you for allowing me to be here. All I ask for is your support. Spread the word that the Cougars need the city of Charleston's backing. Not Coach Grant, but the Cougars, the players. We need your backing, and that I'm here for the city of Charleston. Thank you, guys.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Dot.
Ed, please tell him he will be hearing, you know how loud I am at games. You've witnessed that along with your workers. My granddaughter goes to the College of Charleston, so you will be seeing a lot of me.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I'm very
I
loud.
look forward to it. We need some loud people in
Yes, sir. Bobby?
Thank y'all.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make a point here that in 1964, when you were talking about Stall, we didn't have any seniors, so we were playing with a handicap and beat you. Because we only went to the 11th grade in 64.
Y'all didn't beat us.
Yes.
We beat you.
No.
We're gonna check those history books.
We took the state championship in 65.
Y'all did beat us there in the
In
championship.
65.
Earl, let me say that, we know that you're gonna be successful. We think you're gonna be successful at winning games, but even more, you're gonna be successful at building young men. And, you've got the right attitude and the right spirit. And, for me, you know, fat boys can't jump, but you showed little fellas can. We're gonna be doing good. Yes, Mr. Principal.
Coach, welcome home.
Thank you.
You know, we have a paucity of athletic legacy in our city, and that's why you hear the mayor start off with his bragging about his days at Shakur. And do you know who Al Cannon is? Our sheriff?
Cannon.
Al Cannon.
I know the name.
Well, he's another close friend, and I have to indulge these guys telling me about what great athletes they were. Well, I played with them, and you know, we know how to exaggerate too. I mean, I can't imagine Sheriff Cannon dribbling to his left. You know, I have a sister who teaches at Stall, and I can tell you that school lit up when 2 Stall graduates were being considered for this job. And
Absolutely.
I know that you know that.
Absolutely.
And we talked a little bit earlier about God's will. You know what the word providence means? Providence means pretty much God's will.
Right.
When we think about all the turmoil that attended this selection process, it just seems like it was fate that you would pop right out of the top
Absolutely.
and be exactly what the College of Charleston needs. They need a lot. And just watching you here tonight, it's the first time I've ever seen you. I think they've got the answer to their prayers.
Right.
They need a lot. You're going to deliver a lot. And we're so proud that you're proud of being from North Charleston.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Look forward to seeing you at the games.
Look
Hey,
forward to
Coach.
seeing you too.
Liberty Hill is still there.
I know.
All right, and I know your family.
Right.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, my friend. Madam Clerk.
Back to work, huh? Item 1 is a request to approve the minutes from the October 9th, 2014 City Council meeting.
Move for approval.
Any corrections or questions?
Never.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Astle?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome? Aye. Mr. Jameson?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Aye. Ms. Williams? Aye. Mr. Hart? Aye. Mr. King? Aye. Mr. Stigler? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 2 is the final reading of an ordinance amending Section 2-99 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Charleston, salary adjustment for the office of the mayor for the term 2016 to 2020 term.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Astle?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jameson?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Stigler? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 3 is the final reading of an ordinance amending Section 2-27 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Charleston, salary adjustment for the Office of City Council, 2016 to 2020 term.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Astle?
No.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jameson?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? That was, you can't do that. Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? No. Mr. Stigler?
No.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, motion carries 6-4. Item 4 is the final reading of an ordinance proposed to zone a portion of the property addressed as 3025 West Montague Avenue from unzoned former right-of-way to CRD, commercial redevelopment, and amending the comprehensive plan future land use map for the same portion of the parcel to major business retail.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Astle?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jameson?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Stigler? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 5 is the final reading of an ordinance to rezone the property at 3615 Ashley Phosphate Road from B2 General Business to M1 Light Industrial, and concurrently amend the comprehensive plan future land use map for the same parcel from major business retail to light industrial.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Astle?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jameson?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Stigler? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye. On item 6, we have a request to speak on that item. The gentleman failed to get the notice that was sent and didn't ride by the property during that time frame to see where it was posted, and is involved in the ownership of the property, and therefore I'm going to allow him to speak for 3 minutes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. This
Sir,
mic was-
This podium?
Is a little better.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean O'Connor. I'm an attorney with the Finkel Law Firm. My office is here in North Charleston. I represent Gulf Coast Bank out of Louisiana, which holds the mortgage on the subject property, which is within the Plantation Isle development. It's 12.16 acres located along Riverwalk Drive in the Ashley River. I appreciate you agreeing to postpone the reading on this issue that was scheduled for the September 25 meeting. As you know, the proposed zoning change is to ON, Neighborhood Office, which allows R1 uses, including single-family residential, but not R2 multifamily, which is the current zoning designation. I'm here to advise council tonight and the mayor that my client, the mortgagee, as well as the current owner of the property are both strongly opposed to the zoning change. Just to give you a very brief background on what's going on with the property, there was a development plan that was sunk in the recession. There's been a dispute between my client, the bank, and the owner of the property and the guarantors that's dragged on since at least 2010, but they have recently, and that has, of course, delayed the development, and you're aware of that. They've recently resolved their differences and are in the process of conveying title to my client, Gulf Coast Bank, which will either be by a deed in lieu of foreclosure or a foreclosure by consent. My client Gulf Coast Bank has lined up a ready and willing purchaser. I don't mind telling you who it is. It's a very reputable outfit called JBH Development out of Charlotte. HopperCommunities.com is the website if you'd like to look at it. It's a gentleman by the name of Bart Hopper who does have some local ties, and they've done some other developments in South Carolina. They're a very good developer with a great reputation. I emphasize that both the owner and, that's the current owner, my client, the mortgagee, and this prospective purchaser are all strongly desiring of the R2 zoning to remain in place. The pros would be that this is a more tangible and a near-term plan rather than something that is speculative and uncertain, which would entail changing the zoning. I would also point out that the parcel is currently designated as R2 on the comprehensive plan future land use map. And I was not here at the September 11 reading of this issue, but I note from the minutes that evidently the idea is to allow economic development of this area, and I can only speculate that the concern was that it's been sitting for such a long time with nothing being done. Well, if you leave the R2 zoning in place, based on what I know and what I'm telling you tonight, it's more likely that an attractive development would occur that's more certain and more near in the future rather than changing it and not knowing what you'll get. And I'm not going to restate the concerns that some of the folks that spoke at the 9/11 meeting from the Reverie on the Ashley would have, but I would submit to you that the plan that JBH Development has would be less likely to offend the concerns and sensibilities of some of the folks that spoke at the 9/11 meeting. So what I would ask council to do tonight in light of these concerns and the specifics that I pointed out is please reconsider the proposed zoning change. I would ask that you either leave the R2 designation in place, or alternatively, at the very least, please table the issue for the time being and allow the prospective purchaser, who is the one that is going to have the largest and most important stake going forward, to come and present before council and have a chance to meet Mr. Hopper or his representative and see what they plan to do with the property. And it could very well be, and I fully expect that you'll like that better than what you might have with a yet unknown plan that would come with changing the zoning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a motion? Yes, sir.
No.
No, we waited for them, and I think we
Put it
just need to
on
move
this.
forward, up or down. Your motion?
So move.
Motion for approval, have a second?
I think we already did have
I think we did.
a motion
We
and
did?
second, sir, yes, sir.
Okay.
Make sure, who was it?
I don't,
It was Ms.
Oh, it's
Williams,
here.
supported by Mr. Astle.
Tonight.
not on this one, I don't
You would
believe.
have been either way.
Yes, sir.
What's district?
Could you give us just a little
You abstain.
refresher on this?
Abstain.
We need a second to discuss it.
Second, I second.
There was this piece of property has been vacated for a long period of time. And the concern has become, I think all of us know, that there's been an abundance of apartments being built in the city of North Charleston right now. This is basically water-adjacent property that we think, in the best interest and in the pool of residents that live in that area, that it would be better developed as office neighborhood, which would allow single-family homes to continue to be built in there. And at that request, when we looked at it, we thought what they were saying was feasible, since no development had transpired over a long period of time. And we drew up the thing, posted the property. The last known owner was sent a notice, and it went through the planning commission, and then came here. And out of respect for the owner, when they said that they had not received the notice and hadn't been by the property in a period of time, we held off the second reading until such time as they would have a chance to come speak.
And since then, as I understand it, Gulf Coast has repossessed it, is that, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, may I ask?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, sir. The case remains pending. It's a foreclosure action, and the dispute was about the amount of the loan is, the value of the property is significantly less than the amount of the loan. So the dispute was about recovery against the guarantors, but we resolved that dispute, and so the owner of the property is now going to consent to either a deed in lieu or a consent judgment foreclosure. The only difference would be whether we need to extinguish any other liens. But that is in the process. I've drawn up those papers. They're being reviewed by counsel for the owners in Maryland.
Thank you very much.
But I think the ultimate thing that what he is saying is that the original owner is not going to recoup. The investment is being foreclosed on and probably sold for less than the mortgage was. But I think this gave us the opportunity to look at it as far as a future land use for that property and what ultimately would be the best use of it.
Well, this is a very sensitive piece of property for a lot of reasons, and our mayor and this council we're always sensitive to any sort of economic impacts, but I don't take that to be your argument here. You're trying to preserve options, right?
Yes, sir. My thought would be that or just my understanding based on what the positions of my client and the other folks that are involved in the development is that they have a plan that is consistent with what is there now and with the current zoning, and feel that it would be.
And what is that plan? More apartments?
Well, I think it's more condos back there, but I can't swear to that.
Well, there's also a very nice single-family gated community back there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And if you remember, the Reverie, which is an outstanding development, is sitting with an unfinished building.
Right.
And now has come back to us wanting to build some single-family houses on the remainder of the property.
And in fairness, that is a condo. You're right. Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Astle?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm looking at an aerial shot of this. How much of that is high ground that they can build on of this roughly 12 acres?
I have some plats that I'm happy to show you.
I was just wondering,
There was enough use, I think there could have been 150 or so units built as far as condos.
okay. Thank you.
But under single family, it'd be less. Okay, yes, sir. Sure.
Who's gonna be the owner now? That hadn't transpired yet, so I guess it's a legal question as to where the current owner can request the zoning change. What do you think, Ray?
Well, the current owner is Plantation Isle LLC, which is a group of gentlemen, a group of investors who live in Maryland. They, through their counsel, whose name is Larry Gebhardt, they've authorized me to come and speak to council on their behalf, and I'll represent to you that their interests are aligned with my client's interest, because we all want the property to be sold to this ready and willing buyer. And so even though I don't represent the current owner, they and my client, the bank, are in unison in terms of what we want to see happen, which is the zoning remain in place.
Mr. King, in answer to your question, the city initiated this rezoning. It was not initiated by the property owner.
Oh, what? Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, the clerk, please call the roll. Motion is for approval.
Yes, sir. Mr. Astle?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jameson?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Ms. Williams? Mr. Hart? Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Stigler? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. It's final reading.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
You did a good job.
I'm sure the bank wants us to excuse you because I'm sure you're billing by the hour. Have a good time. Okay, next item.
Item 7, thank you, is the final reading of an ordinance repealing Section 5-6.1 of the zoning ordinances of the City of North Charleston as the Maritime Cargo Overlay District has become obsolete.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Astle?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Ms. Williams? Mr. Hart? Mr. King? Mr. Stigler? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. 8, 9, and 10 are all final annexation readings.
We're going to let him report on all three at one time, and then we'll take them all three at one time.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, with regard to the 3 annexations pending for second reading tonight, reference to section 51R, 51S, and 51T, the records of the auditor and assessor for Dorchester County and Charleston County have been checked. The petitions bear the signatures of 100% of the freehold property owners, representing 100% of the assessed value of the parcels. All 3 ordinances are in proper form and may be adopted by council upon second reading if it so desires.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Did you want me to read the title, sir?
Yes, by title only, yes, I'm sorry.
Item 8 is the final reading for an annexation of Section 51R, TMS 1720802, Lot 9, and a portion of Hunter's Ridge Lane right-of-way. 9 is the final reading of an ordinance for the annexation of Section 51S, TMS 41204000097. Number 10 is the final reading for an annexation ordinance for the annexation of Section 51T, TMS number 41204000117. Now I can do roll call.
All right.
Mr. Astle?
So moved.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Ms. Williams? Mr. Hart? Mr. King? Mr. Stigler? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 11 is the first reading of an ordinance amending Section 5-17 of the municipal ordinances of the City of North Charleston so as to assure that up-to-date covenants and restrictions information is available for use in plans review.
I'm going to ask you to continue to read through 16. These are all moving to a second reading.
11 through 16. Item 12 is the first reading of an ordinance amending sections 18-52 and 17-107 of the code to adjust certain sidewalk requirements. 13 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing and directing the closing and abandonment of all public rights-of-way in the Ashley Shores subdivision. 14 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary and appropriate to grant a sewer easement to North Charleston Sewer District at the new Public Works facility and abandon the existing easement. 15 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary and appropriate to grant a water easement to the Charleston water system at the new Public Works facility and abandon the existing easement. And 16 is the first reading of an ordinance for the annexation of Section 51U, TMS 486-10000001 and 2.
Move for approval.
Second. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on any of the items 11 through 16? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Estel?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Ms. Williams? Mr. Hart? Mr. King? Mr. Stigler? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye. Going to ask the clerk to read 17 through 23.
All right. 17 is the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement and contract with the South Carolina Department of Transportation and the City of North Charleston for access to streaming video. 18 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Davis and Floyd for construction and design of sidewalk installations in the city. 19 is a resolution authorizing the City of North Charleston to accept the fiscal year 2015 Highway Safety Grant for the North Charleston Specialized Enforcement Team. 20 is a resolution to approve an amendment of the agreement for development of a joint county industrial park by and between Charleston County, South Carolina, Colleton County, South Carolina, so as to include additional property in the City of North Charleston and to remove certain property, including the redesignation of certain parcel numbers. 21 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into agreements covering area lighting with SCE&G for Brookdale Phase 4 and the Oaks at Indigo Fields. 22 is a request to approve change order for the 2012-2013 CDBG sidewalk installation. And 23 is a request to approve the Westcott Boulevard traffic circle pavement marking.
Motion and a second. Any questions on any of those items? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Estel?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Mr. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Ms. Williams? Mr. Hart? Mr. King? Mr. Stigler? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
I think you all noticed that one of our regulars is not with us tonight. Mr. Gary McJunkin is in Roper Hospital, and he was transported last night. He's doing okay, but it was scary when we found him. He was disoriented at CVS, and come to find out it was from the infection of a kidney cell. So thank goodness, I think he's going to be okay. I guess the highlight of going down to see him at the hospital last night was when they told him his blood pressure was up a little bit, and he told the EMS people, said, "Yeah, I know what you're charging me to transport me. That's why my blood pressure is up." So
No, he did not.
He was in good mood, so he was hanging in there.
That sounds just
But I'm
like him.
sure he and Mr. Mack and his family would appreciate our thoughts and prayers for him in the next few days as he goes through this time.
Is it Roper?
He's at Roper, yes, ma'am, and he's an 83-year-old wonderful guy who, if you grew up anywhere in North Charleston from the 50s on, he was, Mr. Mack, he was a part of it.
Yes,
And
Lord.
he spends the majority of his time still giving back today, whether it be at the legislative delegation or Cooper River Parks and Playgrounds, advising our rec people, sometimes advising us whether we want it or not. He's just a good guy, and so I'm sure he would appreciate the thoughts.
Maybe he's watching right now. Hi, Mr. Mack.
Anything else to come before the body?
Yes, Mayor Summy.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to thank Mr. Brakeman. That church on the corner of Elder and Taylor, it was my fault because he wanted to do something with it so many years ago, and I asked him not to give it. The pastor was begging me to let him have a chance to fix it along with the members. So Mr. Brakeman backed off, and then it came to the point that Mr. Brakeman was right all the time and I was wrong. And
Wait a minute.
I just want to
Did we record that? Did we record that?
I just want to thank him and Angela especially Mr. Bregman, for what a beautiful job they did for getting that church down, but for also leaving up certain symbols that the pastor and the members wanted left out. And I just want to say, Mr. Bregman, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great job. Anything else? Hearing nothing, ladies and gentlemen, meeting's adjourned.
Good meeting. Good meeting. Good meeting.